Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Bill Costanzo, Livestock Guardian Dog Program Specialist at the AgriLife Center in San Angelo. We'll be doing our 23rd Q&A session today, so we've been doing this almost 2 years at this point. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I have quite a few questions from producers that are posted this time. So I want to go ahead and get started here. I do want to thank the Sheep and Goat Predator Board, as always, for funding of our program, and Dr. Eden for providing leadership for the program. So if you're logging on today for the first time, and I'm answering some of your questions, if you've got any follow-up comments or follow-up questions, feel free to post those in the comments here today. And if we have time, I'll try to get some extra questions if anybody has any that didn't submit these ahead of time. So Tanya Robertson is our first producer who sent in a question. She says that they rescued a brother and sister Great Pyrenees pair about a month ago, or a couple months ago. The pups are about 9 months old now. Nothing had been done with them previously. They weren't even able to walk on a leash. Since they got them, they've got them spayed and neutered, and they get walked twice a day around the property, and they're working on restoring their health. They says that the male is very responsive and calm. The female is very energetic, rambunctious, non-responsive, and jumps on them all the time. So her first question is how can we stop her from jumping? I guess I kind of go back to the old thing is that, if a dog tries to jump on me, lift your knee up so that they hit your knee and don't actually jump on you. Every time she tries to do that. If that's not working for you, try taking a step back so that the dog just falls back down to the ground, or possibly step to the side. So that she doesn't jump up on you, and I would make sure and very loudly tell her no. If that's not working, since these dogs are about 9 months old and they haven't had a whole lot of training to this point, other than what you've been providing, you may need to move over to a shock collar at that point. The ones we use I really like. They're from a company called Inverox. They're not very expensive. They have a pretty decent range on them, and they've got settings, multiple settings in tone, multiple settings in vibrate, and multiple shock settings. And so I would just start working with her on that. It's an important thing. I know you got the dogs as late, but anybody that's got new puppies, you shouldn't allow puppies jumping on you at all, and that starts literally at 8 weeks when you pick them up, or whenever you get your weaned pup, because they obviously turn into very big dogs, and at some point they will knock you down. So it's important to start that training early on, if you can. Her second question, she says, when do you turn them out onto the property? It's fenced, but they could squeeze through if they wanted to. Well, it never ceases to amaze me how small of a hole, a livestock guardian dog can actually squeeze through. So I understand what you're saying, but generally we turn pups out to start working at about 10 months of age. Sometimes it's a little bit younger, sometimes it's a little bit older, just kind of depending on the cooperating producers and where we are in our project each time. But just because you turn them out and they start working doesn't mean, to not supervise them, okay? You need to keep an eye on them very regularly, probably daily. Not put them out with any young animals that can be easily injured by a teenage dog. Until then, until 10 months of time, they really should be in training and bonding with livestock as much as possible. Now, since your dogs were not adequately trained as puppies, and you're going through a lot of that kind of thing with them right now, I would probably wait for a few more months before I release them with livestock. I like to do everything with guard dogs fairly slowly, and so I would just kind of gradually allow them more and more time with the livestock. At first, when you get them out there, have them on a leash or have them tethered around the livestock. so that they get used to just the animals coming up to them and seeing them, and so they hear those noises of the animals and things like that. Over time, have them on a leash, have them walking around with you out there, eventually take them off the leash when you're out there, and then eventually just, add them or allow them to have more and more time, kind of unsupervised by you. Again, you have to remember that they're teenagers and that they need, supervision, and they definitely need immediate correction whenever they're doing anything wrong. And that teenage months are, those are going to last until about 18 months of age, maybe even up to 24 months of age. Okay. And so her last question is, it says that they don't have any livestock besides some chickens and guineas at this point. They want to work with the pups before starting the journey. Excuse me. So I would recommend that you get some livestock of some sort as soon as possible, whether that's sheep or goats or cattle or whatever it is that you're wanting for your operation. Because your chickens and guineas may not keep your dogs focused enough on guarding. Okay, and that may lead them to leave and go elsewhere to find animals to guard. So I would try to get some livestock as soon as you can. Make sure that you have some good fencing. Also install some hot wire, probably at the bottom and maybe at the top, to keep the dogs from getting out. So our next question is from Christy League. She says she has a small hobby goat farm of only a few fenced acres, but a hefty coyote load. And right now she has the perfect two-dog team. It's a 6-year-old Pyrenees, which is pretty sticky to the goats, and a 2-year-old Kangal, which is the alpha. He's kind of hypersensitive and aggressive patroller, who has succeeded in causing coyotes to stay further away than they did when she only had the Great Pyrenees. She wants to know if I can recommend any more breeds that are kind of sticky or close-in breeds when it comes time to retire her Great Pyrenees. And she's hoping something with a shorter and easier hair coat than a Great Pyrenees. So I don't know that I have a lot of help with you or for you on the hair coat issue, but I would definitely recommend Maremas. They do tend to be a very close-in sort of sticky breed. I've heard the same thing about Caracachans, although we're just getting some of those to try out, so I can't verify that for you. I've also heard the same thing about Commodores, which again are not helping your hair coat issue. But the pups that we've gotten, the Commodores, have generally been staying pretty close to the livestock that they've been with, and they're out on ranches now, and none of those dogs have left the pastures that they're supposed to be in yet. So those are 3 breeds that I would definitely recommend to you if you're looking for a close-in breed. If you're looking for maybe something that might be a little bit more of a floater dog that'll go between the herd and your perimeter, I would definitely recommend Akbash. They've been great dogs. It's been a great breed for us to have. We've got quite a few of them, either full-bred dogs or mixes on the center ranches, and they work really well. So, you are going to probably have some difficulty bringing in a new dog with your Kangal, and so just be wary of that. Kangals tend to be very territorial, and they definitely don't like other dogs, even other guard dogs. Okay, so just be cautious of that. Laura Higgins is up next. Let's see, I've got some questions in the chat here. Okay, I'll wait to those on a little bit later. Laura Higgins has 2 males. One is 5 and the other one's 1. Both are neutered but must be kept separate because the younger male attacks the older male. And she also has a 2-year-old female, but neither male messes with her, she says. And she says that she's sure it's a dominance thing, but now they're starting to draw blood. And is there any hope, or should she keep them separate all the time? Excuse me. So I'm glad first that you mentioned that they're both neutered, because that would probably only complicate the situation. And I agree, it's most likely a dominance issue of some sort. And whether you can keep them together or you're going to have to separate them, I guess kind of depends on what the future holds. But at this point, I would definitely keep them separated. Some questions, Laura, that I've got for you, and I'm not sure if you've logged in here today or not. If you haven't, maybe just email me some answers to these. But I guess my first question is your female intact? Because even though your males, are fixed, they may still be trying to fight over her if she's coming into heat. Okay, and I guess another question I have is, have you tried moving her in the pasture away from the males and see if the fighting stops? And then my last question, again back to you, if you're on today, is are they fighting over food, or is there some other resource that one of those males is trying to claim? Is it something just as simple as a water trough, or a place that they like to lay and guard the stock at? If you could give me some more of those answers to some more of those questions, I might be able to help you out a little bit more. If they're fighting when you're around, dogs that are 5 and at least a year at this point already, I would say probably go to a shock collar. I don't like going to shock collars all the time, but to help stop something like this, you may need to do that, because I would definitely not get in between them when they're having some sort of a fight. You need to just try to do things to discourage them from doing that, or if they are in a fight, maybe get a water hose and turn it on them, spray it both of their dogs' faces, try to get them to stop, and hopefully somebody else is there to help you pull them apart and stop the fighting from going on. Next question up is from Nicole Thompson. She says she's reached out before, and I've helped her with a female Great Pyrenees. She says the Pyrenees will be 2 years old next month, and she started killing chickens. She did this when she was younger, but she thought she had kind of outgrown it. But she started finding dead birds in January. Gosh, excuse me today. And she caught her with one a few days ago, and she's wondering if I have any suggestions. She says that the dog's perfect when she's out there. Well, of course she is. They want to make you happy, and they don't want to do anything bad when you're around. The issue seems to arise after dark or early morning. She's been limiting her access to the birds, and she's in the process of getting them a little bit more contained. So, Nicole, as I've said, a bunch of times, poultry is one of the hardest things to have livestock guardian dogs protect. They make all these noises all the time, and they randomly run around, and they flap their wings and all this stuff, and they look like a great play toy for your livestock guardian dog. But the problem is they break really easy. And so I would say what you're doing as far as limiting her access is an excellent idea. I would also start with maybe going through a rebonding process with her, where you take her in the poultry area, have her on a leash, walk her around, maybe have her, tied up to you or on a leash as you're, cleaning the birds out and that kind of thing. And then go to a tether where, you can bring some birds up to her and see how she does. Maybe even put in a cellular game camera where you can watch and see what's going on when you're not there. Just kind of to observe her movements more, and maybe that might be able to help you figure out what's causing some of these issues when she goes to attack the birds. If she's just trying to play with them, or if maybe she's just being a little bit more aggressive, if she's showing some prey drive instincts maybe. A lot of dogs don't mature until 2 years old, and sometimes we've put a lot of work into them, but not all guard dogs make it. Even if you do everything right, we've found, from talking to longtime producers and breeders that use them, that about 25 to 30%, just don't make it. They need to be a pet, basically. So, that's some things that I'd recommend. There's also, we got a surveillance camera off of Amazon. It was fairly inexpensive. I think it was about $300, but it had a night vision portion to the camera. It had a speaker, and it also had a light that you can turn on and off. And it worked really well while we had the data service for it. I think that could be helpful for you in correcting her behavior. Oh, you know, I can't help you too much with the name or anything like that on the one that we have. But if you're searching on Amazon, look for a 4G pan tilt security camera that's battery slash solar, and it's got a S40 somewhere in the description, or if you're looking on the box. That's the one that we got. Like I said, it came with so much data already, and it was really helpful for observing the puppies when we had some issues in the bonding pens this last go around. I'd also suggest that you reach out to Joy Combs at Providence Farms. She does a lot of training with livestock guardian dogs and poultry on her operation, and she could probably help you out. She did a webinar for the Texas Guard Dog Association, and that webinar is posted on their YouTube channel. So if you search on YouTube for the Texas LGD Association, you should be able to find their page and watch her YouTube or her webinar that she did a few months back for them. So hopefully that helps you out. Next up, we've got a question from Susan Swales. She wanted to know, can you offer guidance to inform young dogs that they must guard against aerial predators and scavengers? She says her year-old is oblivious to them. Well, Susan, I had hoped to have a grant to study this very thing this year, but apparently the place that we applied for the grant from felt that aerial threats were not as big of a deal across the U.S. And sadly, we have other projects lined up now, and won't be able to get back to this same topic for a few years. But it seems like some dogs have the ability and others don't, and so we're not sure if it's a genetic or a learned trait from other dogs. So basically what we were going to do is, and this is kind of what I would suggest to you if you're going to want to try to train your dog, is I'd look into purchasing some kites that look like birds, and possibly harassing him and some of the livestock that you have with those. We had also looked into getting some drones, and I actually found a remote controlled bird online. I couldn't find the link for it for you, but if you shoot me an email, I might be able to find it after a bit. But it was a remote controlled hawk, and its wings actually flapped like a real bird, and that's what kept it in the air. And so that really seemed like the best option to me if you're looking for a training device to kind of get your dog to guard against some aerial threats. So I'm pretty sure that hawk was on Amazon, but if you just look up remote controlled hawks, I'm sure you'll probably find that one that has wings that actually flap. Jennifer Derrick, she says, do I see an issue with allowing dogs to eat after birth if ewes aren't cleaning it up? I think it's instinctive for the dogs to clean it up, but I don't ever want them to get the idea it's okay to overmother or eat dead, weak lambs. Yes, Jennifer, it's definitely an instinctual thing. It's been bred into a lot of different dogs, or a lot of times dogs will just do it instinctually. But that's one of the things about guardian dogs, that they'll come through and they'll clean up all that after birth, and dead lambs or kids, they'll eat most of them usually. And the reason for it is to keep scavengers and other predators from coming into the area. And so I don't see anything wrong with that, and I think it'd be difficult to stop a dog from doing that, to be honest with you. I understand that a lot of times, if there's a very weak lamb or kid and it's lying still next to the afterbirth, the dog's going to probably assume that it's dead and start eating on it. I would hope that, if you have a good guard dog, that if that lamb or kid made any sort of noise, that your guard dog would stop and not eat the lamb or kid. So hopefully that helps you out some. Next question we have is from Deanna Anders. She's got a female, Marema Anatolian, who's about 9 months old. She needs advice on when is a good age to get her spayed. She doesn't want to have a litter at all, but she's also afraid of spaying her too early may interfere with hormones and development. What's our advice? So basically, I'm gonna give you the same advice that one of the vets at the University in College Station, Texas A&M itself, gave me when I contacted them about this same type of thing. So we fix all of our dogs between around 10 or 11 months of age. Okay, and so the main reason that we do that is to make sure that there's no roaming that gets started with the dogs. Okay, roaming is probably the biggest issue with livestock guardian dogs, and the main cause of dogs, being killed because they get hit by cars or caught in snares, shot by hunters, just disappear into the countryside, whatever. And so, the vet that I spoke to, as well as ourselves, we believe it's more important to have a live dog than to worry about, if you're going to get any extra growth or development out of the dog after that point in time. And so, we haven't seen any structural issues come up by doing that, that the dogs didn't already have. And so, that's a choice you kind of have to make on your own. If you're going to be able to keep your dog contained, that first time that she comes in heat, and make sure that no dogs end up showing up there. I would say if you waited until, 10, 11, even 12 months of age, they're going to be almost full grown by that point. And again, it hasn't hindered any of the adult growth as far as I've been able to determine in the dogs that we use, the dogs that we've sent out to producers. So the biggest thing is to make sure you've got a good structurally sound dog. And I think if you do, you won't have any problems with getting her fixed in another couple months here. Our next question up is from Laura Plett. Hopefully I pronounced your last name right, Laura. She's got an established pack of Kangal working dogs on a large flock in Canada. It's a very high predator pressure there, and she said the dogs are excellent at what they do. They regularly catch coyotes and kill them, and they no longer have wolves coming into their herd area. But replacing dogs for age or injury and other things, she says, is next to impossible. And she's lost 3 new dogs in an attempt to integrate them into the pack. One of them was a 1-year-old, and then 2 younger pups. And so on separate occasions, they've learned something each time, and they're trying to adjust their integration plan. But within a month, the pack, she's not sure if it's one dog or many, turns on the new one and kills it. And she says by no means they just dump them out there. Each time they've done this, the new dogs in the pack have been closely supervised for several weeks. And it always seems like everything's going well, and then they end up with a couple dead dogs, and it's the new dogs. So she says that feeding's always supervised, and the pups are always submissive around the adult dogs. So her question is what she should do for introducing them. So I am working with Laura on this question some more. I spoke with her some more via chat and got some more information out of her, and she basically follows the same plan of slow introductions that I recommend to everybody. New dogs and older dogs are tethered and then leashed, and then she slowly introduces livestock, and she slowly introduces food through the process. And normally that works, and it usually works fairly well for people. And if you have any issues going through that process, if you pause and you stay at one phase a little bit longer, again, that usually helps, and you can move on to the next step. The biggest issue I think that she has here with this question, and I'm still working with some behaviorists to hopefully get you an answer, Laura, is just the breed that she has. I understand that Kangals, are needed for heavy predator loads, with large predators like wolves, but they do tend to be very aggressive towards other canines, hence being aggressive towards wolves and coyotes. And so, while they're good at that job, it does make it very difficult to introduce new dogs into the group. And so 2 of the behaviorists that I did speak with about this, suggested kind of starting over, and when she gets to that point where she just doesn't have enough dogs, and really working on acclimating, if she gets Kangals again, to new dogs constantly coming in all the time. And so hopefully that works for you. And I do have one more person to reach out and speak with for you, Laura. And hopefully I can get you a little more of an answer from that person also. So next up is somebody that follows our page a lot, and I see her make posts and comments. And so I thank you, Jamie Lee T-Pole. So her question is what do you recommend to deter or correct a guard dog who jumps fences? She says she's tried a dangle stick, but it doesn't help with jumping. And so, yes, you're correct that dangle sticks really don't help with dogs that are jumping over fences. Dangle sticks are more to keep them from chasing. Honestly, for a dog that jumps over fences, really probably the best thing that I could recommend to you is a good, strong hot wire. Right at the top of the fence, I would, definitely offset it several inches. Almost the way that they do, like on prisons where there's, at the top of the cyclone fences, there's that metal arm that kind of sticks out. I tried to find the company, but I don't know who makes it, but there is a company out there that makes an arm like that you can attach to the top of your fence. It's kind of a real heavy gauge piece of metal that has like this kind of sort of a U shape, and it's got legs on each side, and you can staple those legs to your fence post, and then in the center of it is a plastic insulator. The reason I'm recommending something like that is because a lot of times if you just put a hot wire at the top, or if you just use those little small like 3-inch plastic insulators, it's not offset from the fence far enough for the dog not to hit it. And some dogs will figure out that they can run and then jump and still clear it. Where if you have this larger offset device to your fence, they generally can't get over that, and they will hit it even if they try to run and jump at it. So you can also just if you can't find these metal extensions for insulators, you could just attach a piece of probably like 1x4 cut and nailed or screwed into the top of your wood posts at that sort of angle, and then just put a regular plastic insulator on the end of it. That might be a little bit easier, and it might be a little more inexpensive too for you. But that's what I would recommend. I know there's some things like coyote rollers. I've seen those and looked at them, and well, it looks like a good idea. I don't know if those things actually work, and so I don't know if there's anybody on today that might be able to talk about one of those. But you could try a drag, but they're kind of limited, for a fence jumper. A lot of times the drags will get caught and the dog will be there, so at least they didn't wander off. They may be off your property, but they'll be stuck to your fence. But again, hot wire is probably your best suggestion, or an invisible fence system. Either something from Invisible Fence brand or Spot On Fence. I would recommend either one of those. I think they're both good callers, and they're working on those with us. So hopefully that helps you out there some. Next question from Julie Schumann. She says, when is barking excessive, and when should you expect them to outgrow this? If they don't outgrow it, can anything be done? And so, Julie, usually the biggest problem we have with barking dogs is it's going to be your teenage dogs again, because they don't know, they haven't learned what a threat really is yet and what isn't a threat. And so anything that they see, that they think could be a threat, they're going to bark at. And so I know this is difficult if you're on a small piece of property and you've got neighbors that are close. They hear the dogs barking at all hours of the night and early morning and that type of thing. And so some of it will slow with age. What's excessive? I would say if your dog is barking over 5 minutes straight, that would be excessive in my opinion. On and off barking is very common and typical in the early evening, late mornings, and the reason is because the dogs are telling predators, hey, I'm here on guard, this is my territory, you need to stay away from it. And so you don't want to discourage it a lot, but I understand that you need to be able to control it. And so most dogs, leave the teenage months 18 to 20 months of age. Again, I said this earlier, it may be as late as even 24 months of age. Okay, but you might need to do some correction during that time. And so the best thing is if if your dog's barking more than 5 minutes, you really should go outside and see what's going on and see if there actually is a threat. If you don't have one of those good high-powered kind of like handheld spotlights, I would definitely encourage you to get one of those so that you can see at night if there actually is a threat. It could be just the neighbor outside, walking around in their yard or around their house, or, it could be a squirrel or, whatever it is. And so if it's something like that and you don't see a threat, then, try to teach your dog not to bark at those things. Whether it's through scolding or a shot collar or, just calming them down, whatever it is that you want to do. On the other hand, if you go out, and you see a town dog on your perimeter, or you see the eyes of some sort of a predator, reward your dog for that behavior. Again, I know barking is pretty problematic because it's generally at night, when you want to go to sleep or, at least stay warm or maybe even stay cool in the house. But this is something where, just yelling at them is probably not going to work. You've got to actually go out and see what's going on and either reward them, if it's something that they should be barking at, or discourage that behavior if it's something that they shouldn't be working at. Next up is Veronica Adams. She has a 9-month-old intact Pyrenees Anatolian mix that she just added to their goat herd, and he wants to wander off the property onto the neighbor's property. Any suggestions to keep him on your property? She's looked into GPS collars that track and help train, but they haven't been able to find a lot. And so I know there's several different brands that are out there, Veronica. The two that we've been working with is the Invisible Fence brand, collar system, and then also Spot On Fence collar. And, I guess there's pros and cons to each system. And I've been needing to do a Facebook Live video on those pros and cons, and I've just been busy lately and haven't gotten to it. But, if you're a smaller producer, I would say that the Spot On Fence system is probably a little bit more straightforward, probably a little bit easier to use. And the nice thing about the Spot On Fence system is that there's a phone app. You can literally have it working from the time you unbox it. 30 minutes later, you can be out, training your dog. And so the biggest problem with all the systems out there, whether it's Halo or Spot On or Invisible Fence, or there's another one that I know folks have recommended to me to look at, it's really the battery life. In my opinion, nobody has appropriate battery life for livestock guardian dog users. We need a collar that's a minimum of a week's battery life. And why these companies don't have batteries set up to be able to do that, I don't know. I can tell you that Spot On Fence is actively working with us, and we will be testing a new collar from them sometime this spring that's specifically designed for livestock guardian dogs. But like I said, it's not out for sale or anything like that. It's not even in full production. It's strictly in the trial phase at this point. But hopefully we'll have something like that set up within the next year that producers will be able to buy. But those are the two systems that I would recommend, Veronica. Next question is from Beverly Whiteside. She says, does anyone have suggestions for feeding station for an arthritic livestock guardian dog? She can't jump through the higher opening anymore to get to her food, but she needs to be able to keep the sheep away from it. So, while I don't like dogs to crawl underneath, I guess that's a question I have, is she able to still crawl to get into her feeding station? Or could you use a different type of entrance for her maybe that isn't as high, but, maybe would still keep the sheep out? If you email me, Beverly, if you're interested in some of those, I have some different designs that producers have sent in to me. Like I said, one is a kind of a V-shaped thing. Another one had like a swinging door on it. And then the last thing I was going to recommend to you is an RFID dog door. we added and it's from a company called Pet Safe. You can buy them online, or you can buy them from their website. But it uses an RFID tag that the dog wears on its collar, and it walks up to the door. The door makes kind of a clunking sound. It unlatches, and then your guard dog can get in. It takes a little bit of training, but it shouldn't be too involved, for you to teach the dog what to do, because like I said, it does make a good clunking sound, and then this little noise as the motor kind of pulls the locks down, and so the dogs get used to it pretty fast. It's about $150 on Amazon. I think it's close to the same, directly from Pet Safe, but make sure that you get the extra large size. That's one thing that I can recommend to you. And we found that the batteries on the door itself, I think it takes 4 D batteries. They last about 2 months, give or take a little bit. And the watch battery on the little collar tag, it lasts about 3.5 to 4 months. Kind of depending on the age of the dog and how much they're going in there for both of those battery lives. But that's one thing I'd recommend to you. And then you can make the height any opening that you want for to be able to go through that extra large dog door. So let's see, I know we got some comments or some questions over here today, and I've got a little bit of time here. I think I might be able to answer. Well, thank you, Tanya. Hopefully that information helped I gave you earlier. Martin Villa says, have you got any experience with livestock guardian dogs and cattle? We just imprinted a pup with some cows. Well, the big thing, Martin, with the cattle is kind of like with poultry. You really have to take it slow. A friend of mine out in California, Dan Macon, he's a extension agent out there, and he did a project with bonding dogs to cattle. And so probably the best thing is if you can make a good sized pen for your dog with a small door that the dog can go in and out of, inside of a pen where you've got some cattle. I would definitely encourage you to start with younger cattle, probably 300 or 400 pound heifers that you plan on keeping, so that those heifers get used to the dog, and that way the rest of the herd will be a little bit more accepting. In the project that Dan was working on, they started out with some older cattle, and there were issues with the dog being really small and the cattle being older, and it didn't work out in the first few weeks, and so they had to change and go back to some younger cattle. And so again, it's going to be a very long process, because we can replace sheep and goats a lot faster than we can replace cattle, to get them used to getting new sheep or goats used to the dogs quicker. It's a lot slower process with cattle, and so that's something that you're going to kind of have to work through with bonding your dog to cattle, and then getting the rest of your herd used to the dog actually being there and accepting the dog being there to help protect them. Oh, well, for our question about Crockachans, Joan Johnson says, she can recommend the Crockachans. Their coat is amazingly easy to take care of, and she says actually no maintenance on her end. Well, I'm looking forward to that. That would be great to have a guard dog besides Akbosh or Anatolians that have an easy hair coat to take care of. So thank you for that comment. And then my friend Peggy Brewer, if it's after dark or early morning, is she sure it's a dog killing the animals, or the dog finds the dead chickens? Oh, that's a good question, Peggy. I'm assuming that she knows that it's the dog killing them, but again, it could be something else, and I hadn't thought of that. So thank you for that comment. Hopefully that producer, I'm forgetting who that was that had the chicken problem. That was Nicole Thompson. So yeah, make sure that it's not something else killing your chickens, Nicole. It could be your guard dog, but if she grew out of it and hasn't done anything, maybe she's just finding them dead and it's something else that's killing them. So, well, I think that's it for our comments and questions. I sure appreciate everybody logging on today, and as always, we'll have another Q&A in March. Should be the first Thursday at 2 o'clock. I am moving them to 2 o'clock from 3 because I've got some grad school classes that are kind of conflicting with the later time. So if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me here at the AgriLife Center or through Facebook. I sure appreciate everybody logging on today. We'll see you all next time. Thanks a lot.